As I slept, something sinister happened. I didn't know what it was, but I felt something was wrong. It was a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I tried to ignore this feeling, telling myself it was just my imagination. But that night, something happened that made me realize something was wrong. As I was fast asleep, I was awakened by a noise coming from the living room. I got up and went to check what it was. When I got to the room, I noticed that the window was open. It was then that I started to feel scared. How could this have happened? I knew I had locked the door and windows before going to sleep. I began to wonder if anyone had entered the house. I looked around the room and noticed that a few things were out of place. It was a book that had fallen off the coffee table, a vase that looked like it had been moved. That's when I heard a strange sound, like someone was breathing. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind, but I knew it was something more. I looked around the room and, in the dark corner, I saw a dark figure that seemed to be watching me. I was paralyzed with fear, not knowing what to do. The figure then started to move towards me. Its steps were slow and dragging. He was a tall, thin person with pale skin and hollow eyes. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't respond. The figure was getting closer and closer to me, and I could feel its cool breath on my face. It was then that I woke up. It was just a dream, but it felt so real that I couldn't help but feel scared. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't relax. I still felt a strange feeling, like there was something wrong with the house. So I decided to investigate and started walking around the house, looking for any sign that someone had entered. It was then that I found the cellar door open. I had never paid attention to it before, but now it was wide open. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to head downstairs to investigate. The basement was dark and damp, with a strange smell in the air. I turned on the light and started to look around. It was then that I saw something that made me feel the deepest fear I have ever felt in my life. There was a hooded figure sitting in a chair, its back to me. The figure appeared to be holding something in its hands. I didn't know what it was, but something told me it wasn't something good. I started backing up slowly, trying not to make any noise. But the figure heard me and turned to face me. It was a pale, expressionless face, but its eyes were fixed on me as if they were going to pierce my very soul. I tried to run, but the figure quickly got up and started chasing me through the basement. I could hear his footsteps behind me, getting closer and closer. I knew I had to escape, but I was running out of breath and my legs were weak. It was then that I tripped over something and fell into the floor. The figure approached me, holding a gleaming knife in its hand. I knew I was trapped and there was no escape. That's when I woke up again, but this time, I wasn't in my bed anymore. I was in a dark, unfamiliar room, strapped to a chair. There was a strong smell of mold and blood in the air. I looked around and saw the hooded figure sitting in a chair across from me. His eyes were fixed on me, as if he were studying me. I tried to free myself, but the bonds were tight. It was then that the figure began to speak. His voice was cold and emotionless, as if he was reciting something. "You sleep soundly, but I'm always awake. I see everything you do, hear everything you say. I'm your worst nightmares, the shadow in your mind." I knew I was facing an evil being, something that didn't belong in this world. I started to pray, asking for divine help, but the figure just laughed and said, "God can't help you now. You are mine now, forever." I closed my eyes and started praying again, this time more fervently. It was then that I felt an intense heat in my body, as if I were being wrapped in a comforting hug. When I opened my eyes again, the figure had disappeared and I was back in my bed. It was only then that I realized it was all just a terrible dream, but the feeling of fear and depression remained for a long time. Since then, I have been afraid to sleep soundly. I always wake up several times during the night, checking that everything is in order. I know the hooded figure is still out there, waiting for the right moment to attack me again.